Do you like roller coasters?
You know what? I love roller coasters. I love riding roller coasters. Do you?
I love roller coasters. Did you know that there's a musical about roller coasters?
What? There's an actual musical that is based on a roller coaster?
Yeah, and if you stick around, we'll tell you about it. Hello, I'm your host, Jocelyn.
I'm your co-host, Ferdog, and welcome to...
It's a theater thing.
So today is episode 1, official episode 1, and today we're talking about a musical based on a tragic roller coaster accident, right?
So the musical that I was talking about was Ride the Cyclone, which actually has the same name as a real-life roller coaster in Coney Island.
So we've seen the clips of the show. Love the music, love the characters. We had some questions about it also too, and probably a question that you probably thought about when you saw the show. Is this based on true events?
No. According to an article with the New York Times, the writers of the show, Brook, Maxwell, and Jacob Richmond, stated that their inspiration came from real-life photos that they saw of a carnival in Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina.
So the authors were inspired by the aftermath of the hurricane, correct?
Yes.
Well, guess what, Jocelyn?
What?
It's Tidbit time.
Ride the Cyclone opened in 2008 in Canada and in 2014 opened productions in the U.S. in Seattle, Atlanta, Minneapolis, and Chicago. It is currently playing at the McCarter Theater in New Jersey and next year will be opening in Washington.
And that is your tidbit.
So Ride the Cyclone follows the story of 6 teenagers from the St. Cassian High School Choir of Uranium City, Saskatchewan. The 6 suffer a tragic death after they are riding the Cyclone roller coaster and the roller coaster suffers from a malfunction.
Very sad.
They are then taken to Limbo where they are met with Karnak, the mechanical fortune teller who they all met before they died.
Now, Karnak he's a very interesting character. Now, he's the kind of guy who right at the beginning, the way they wrote him, there was a little plot twist right from the start where he tells all the characters that one person can actually go back to the world of the living, right? The way they can do this is that they have to unanimously vote for one person that they feel deserves it. So each character is actually given a turn by singing their own song. And through this song, you actually learn who they are, things about them, things about their past, the way they were in the world of living. Also, where they saw their future, how they saw themselves living the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. Maxwell and Richmond, though, they do a great job because each character has their own like style of genre of music. You have everything from rap, you have everything from pop, you have everything from glam rock, you have 80s or 90s glam rock, 80s. Right? What do you want to say, right? 80s glam rock, I would say. 80s. And you even have like New Orleans jazz, which was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So for me, the music part, and I know for you too, we really enjoyed listening to this or seeing those clips of the show and listening to those awesome songs and also listening to the soundtrack. Because the soundtrack, if you listen to the soundtrack, you're going to get the whole gist of how the different genres that the authors, Richmond and Maxwell, actually use and how they develop each character. But you can hear the songs. But once you see the actual characters playing and the costumes and the stage and the way they are using the stage to sing and tell their story, great way they did it. They did a really great job of doing that.
You learn a whole lot about the characters in just 5 or 6 minutes. So much more than you do in like a normal musical where they just throw in stuff at random moments.
So the next thing we're going to talk about now, let's talk about the music. So I know for us, we really enjoyed watching those clips of the show. It really took you to a really cool journey of each character and who they were. And also the thing though too, I mean, what were your thoughts about the way those clips that we saw?
I already loved it because I've talked about it for the last month. But I love how they turned such a simple set that they had in the background to such an awesome scene. In one song, they use projections.
Oh, yes, and we'll talk about that later, right?
Songs. They use projections to make such an awesome scenery that it takes you from just this curtain to this field to like watching a film. It literally brings out so much of the song and turns it into a real scene.
And we're going to talk a bit more about that later, correct? About that main character that sings that song, which I fell in love with. All I have to say, rage, passion, right? So let's go on to our next piece. Let's talk about the characters and the music. So let's talk about the first character that is introduced in the musical Ride the Cyclone. We have O'Connell Rosenberg, played by Tiffany Tatru. Okay, yes. So love or hate her?
I love Ocean. It's a controversial opinion, but I love her.
I'm kind of stuck in between, and I'm talking about character. I'm not talking about development. I'm not talking about I hate that character. No. I'm talking about
just overall her personality.
The character's good.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like you're listening to her sing her song. You're listening to her sing about her life, and it's like...
It's kind of hard to feel bad for her at first.
At first, right? Now, she can be described as being very competitive.
She's an overachiever. She's very smart. As she says in her line at the end of the show, she's gotten straight A's since grade 1, which I don't even know how that's possible, but she does. She's
also very mean, though. Even to her own best friend, Constance, she's very mean to her as well. Now, her song genre is pop.
It's a very poppy song. Her song is What the World Needs. And in it, if you listen to the lyrics, all she's talking about is how she's better than everybody.
Yes.
Which
is pretty much her character, right? Pretty much her character. But the crazy part is at the end of her song, she's on top of the pyramid, like you said, right?
Yes.
And then Karnak tells her
that Karnak drops a bomb on her and tells her that the way that they're going to be voting is that all 6 of them have to decide on who they think should be the one to go back.
So that's when she begins her campaign.
Yes.
And she wants to have another chance to sing a song, right? But nope, doesn't happen.
It never happens.
And she just how this lyrics go for that next song?
Oh, I love it so much because she goes around and she's talking about how she loves everyone, and then she comes up to the front of the stage and she says, "This next song is simply about how I love you guys, and it's simply called I Love You Guys. I love you guys." And then she gets cut off completely.
So that is character number 1 that's introduced. Love her. I really do love her. I love Ocean, but I think her character is built on the fact that you're not supposed to like her at first.
Yeah. She raises your anxiety very high because she just wants to be the one to go back.
Well, she wants to go back to the world of living. She doesn't want to die. The way she goes about it is just her anxiety that she has and that competitive thing. Like, I need to get this.
Slap her. Oh. The next character that gets introduced is Noel Gruber, who is played by Colby Wardell, and I really enjoy Noel. I really like his music. I really like his character overall and his background story. What do you think of that?
Well, he's a very distinctive character. Also, just like all these characters are very unique, right? But Noel himself, he's one of those guys that's obsessed with French cinema. It's right from the bat of his turn to sing the song. You know it right away. It's called Noel's Lament, right? Yes. He's described as the most romantic boy in town, expressing himself, also being into the cinema. His song and the way the style of music is very, very cabaret-ish, kind of a smoky room, kind of mysterious kind of aura as he's singing his song, right? But this song, though, he's describing himself that he wants to be a French prostitute who dies a very tragic death. Very French cinema, according to Noel, or at least how he wishes it. So one of the things, though, what do you think about his music, though? What do you think about his song?
I really like his song, but something that I really like about him is that he is the only canonically gay character in the show. And although that's something a lot of people can already relate to, what I really like is that he talks about how he wasn't able to express himself in the real world. But now that he's dead and they're all in this warehouse and just talking about themselves, he really gets to express himself and shine. And you just really...
But the great part, too, I mean, they're here in limbo. And they see who he is as a person. And, even that one scene where he kisses Mischa.
Yes.
They're just very accepting of it. They're very accepting of who he is and his uniqueness. Well, I can't even say uniqueness of who he is, right? Yeah. Or who this character is. So definitely character number 2 that was introduced, Noel Gruber.
Noel Gruber.
Right, so let's talk about character number 3 that is from this off-Broadway show, Ride the Cyclone. So number 3 is who, Jocelyn?
So the third character that gets introduced is Mischa Bachinski, who is played by Gus Halper. And Mischa is my favorite character. I just really like him. I think that he's really cool. Something that's interesting about him is that he is the only non-Canadian character.
Right.
He is from Ukraine, and something that's funny is that his mother lied on his adoption papers before he got sent to Canada and claimed that he was 2 years old when he was really a very violent teenager.
Yeah. His style of music, rap, right?
Yes.
Love his quote. Auto-tune.
Ukrainian. Oh.
No, auto-tune will never die.
Yes.
Right? But then there's the other part too when he describes
Yes.
about the two emotions that Ukrainians have are
rage and passion.
Right? So his first song, it's called "This Song Is Awesome." It's a rap song. It talks about his rage side,
Yes.
right? So that's pretty cool. But then
his passion
side comes out with the ballad called
Talia. Talia is
Yes.
my favorite song as well. And it's just a very, very passionate song,
Yeah.
I will be honest. It
very
is.
visual too.
It is.
At least the way they did it. And this is what I really loved about that song. So you have Talia, who supposedly he met through his YouTube channel.
Yes.
The only person that gave positive comments.
Gave positive feedback.
Yes.
And they are now engaged, and he is planning to save up to go back to Ukraine to be with her. Unfortunately, the accident happens, and he ends up dying.
So, but he's never met her in person.
No.
Correct. Only online with the comments, and that's all. But then, as he sings this song, Talia, once again, thinking about his future, if he would have been alive, you see the person in the backdrop, you see Talia, her face, you see who the girl is. But then the way they project it, it changes, which I thought was pretty awesome the way they went about it.
Something that looks, this is where, as I was talking about in the beginning with the projection that I really love, they move it from the curtain to the sheet, and they keep taking the sheet away from him, and then they project it onto the girls' dresses, and then they project it onto his shirt, and he's singing about it, and then your favorite part.
It was very well done. It was very well done, the projection part.
Runs to the back.
And then the last part, the end of the song, you know, in his future, he saw himself marrying Talia. So you see him go off stage and then wind up in the film being with Talia. And that was his eternity, right? He wanted that to be his life. Very romantic song. So once again, you know, another genre, a ballad, Talia. So we have rage and passion.
Yes.
Rage, this song is awesome. Passion, Talia. So that's character number 3. So that's Mischa Bachinski, right?
The angriest boy in town.
Yes. All right. So the next character introduced in the show, Ride the Cyclone, is Ricky Potts.
Yes.
Played by Alex Wise, the version we saw, right? So let's talk about Ricky.
In my opinion, I think that Ricky is probably the most interesting character because in real life, he has a degenerative disease that causes his legs to stop working, and he's mute, so he doesn't get to talk at all. But once they're taken to limbo and he finally, you know, gets to really show off who he is, he gets to talk for the first time and he gets to walk for the first time in a long time.
And I think he is one of the most interesting characters as well, because he starts talking about how he's kind of like into the sci-fi thing, but really his song really describes his thoughts and his imagination. His song is called Space Age Bachelor Man. And it reminiscent to the 80s glam rock. I mean, it was spot on, right? His costumes and even the costumes of the other actors that are playing along with him. You know, how would you describe those costumes?
They're given tails and glasses, and they really just look like cat people. But my favorite part of this song is his costume because he really looks like David Bowie and Prince and all these different
Elton John costumes.
Singers, yes, and.
But reminiscent to the 80s.
Yes,
reminiscent to the 80s.
And
maybe 70s, right? But definitely 80s.
But I just really like this scene because everyone gets to listen to him for the first time. Yes. And I don't know.
But his song does find kind of funny because we talk, like I said, we talk about cats. And the way we understood it was that, you know, it's about how one time cats are seen as deities back in the Egyptian times and all those things, right? So now he wants to be seen as the god for the cats and, you know, kind of like the king of all the men or female and male cats, right?
I mean,
and so great song.
He gets
song.
a
Very
great
funny.
costume change where he's turned into this cat lord. And
yes, there you go.
His hair is all up and it looks like ears. And
it's 80s hair band days also too as well, you know. That wig really stands out. But once again, next, this character, Ricky Potts.
Most imaginative boy in town.